Why would you need to change sovereignty to join people? You haven't needed to change sovereignty between Belgium and France and the UK and Spain, but you've made those lines irrelevant. Why would you hold us hostage to that line on the ground and say only if this line changes will we allow you to meet freely? Why can't the line stay where it is, and yet you make it so irrelevant that we can come together as people, we can rebuild those transport links, we can rebuild those social links, we can rebuild those family links, and yet you don't tinker around with the nationality that we have. We'll live the way we are, and we'll work together.
So self-independence no more?
I don't see how it's possible. I would love for somebody to come forward and suggest to me how independence for Jammu and Kashmir is a viable option. I have numerous arguments with those people who talk about the right to self-determination and then stop from giving the third option of independence. They limit it to only choosing between India and Pakistan. That's not self-determination. I mean, you talk about implementing the United Nations Security Council resolutions, but they don't give you the third option. They limit it only to two, choosing between India and choosing between Pakistan. And as I said, the world has changed from 1947. Jammu and Kashmir has changed from 1947. It's not to suggest that there isn't support for this in parts of Jammu and Kashmir. But my job is not to sell people a dream. My job is to sell people what is realistically possible and what is feasible.
Okay. Why was the plebiscite? Let's talk about that. Let's go a little back in history. 1975, the Indira Sheikh Accord, which your grandfather, Sheikh Abdullah, signed. He came to power as the Chief Minister of the state and gave up on the plebiscite, on the demand of the plebiscite, disbanded the plebiscite front. Some say that was the beginning of the end as far as self-determination is concerned.
No, it was the realization on the part of my grandfather that all this was going to do was to destroy Kashmiris further, and that it was not going to happen. Let's not forget that these discussions and dialogues started in the face of Pakistan being broken into two countries. You had East Pakistan and West Pakistan that split into Pakistan and Bangladesh. You had Pakistan that faced a horrible defeat at the hand of Indian forces after the 71-72 war. You had the similar agreement. And there was a lot. I mean, it's very easy for us to sit at this point in time and try and understand what were the circumstances under which these discussions and these dialogues took place. But you need to look at the overall situation and then realize that my grandfather took a view that it is in the best interest of the people of Jammu and Kashmir to remain a part of India and to have their own identity, but within the constitutional union that exists.
So some people say, his detractors say, sir, that he was purchased. It was a U-turn for power. It was a compromise.
Power is not given by an individual. Power is given by the people. And even if for a moment you would like to believe that it was a U-turn, he was elected after this agreement by an overwhelming majority of people of Kashmir in 77. And therefore, even if it was a U-turn, it was a U-turn that was endorsed by the majority of Kashmir. You don't get to buy people. People endorsed it. I mean, if you wanted a greater endorsement of what he did, look at the video footage of his funeral in 1982. That will give you an endorsement of how much people believed in what he had done.
But the plebiscite, giving up the plebiscite is a bit of
Why
a
not?
compromise.
No, of course not.
What was the National Conference thinking at that point by giving up the demand for the plebiscite?
National Conference,
which it espoused at that point,
sure,
right till then.
The National Conference put the interests of the people of Jammu and Kashmir in front of everybody else and decided that this is in the best interests of the people of the state because they don't need the uncertainty that was being created by espousing the cause of
What do you say
plebiscite.
to the people who think that he was purchased?
I don't have anything to say to them.
More loyal than the king, some people say. That Farooq Abdullah with the Special Operations Group and the Special Task Force, which, at least according to a report I have from the Human Rights Watch, have been held responsible for human rights violations in the valley. Did he, when he did come to power, try to disband it?
No.
Why not?
Because the security environment didn't allow for it.
Does it now?
I wish it had been disbanded, but it hasn't. It was one of the planks of the current government of their healing touch policy, but events have shown that has turned out to be a hollow promise, and the SOG or the task force continues to function in Jammu and Kashmir.
As one of the most powerful chief ministers of the province, one would expect him to take some sort of action on human rights violations.
Oh, sure he did.
Especially by the SOG
No,
and the SDF.
action against human rights violations was taken. You look at the actions after Pt4, where a lot of heads rolled, a lot of other cases were registered against police officers that were found responsible for human rights violations. But whether we like it or not, the writ of the state government doesn't run to the army and the other security forces. They fall under the responsibility of the government of India, and no chief minister, be it Dr. Abdullah, Mufti Muhammad Sayyid or Ghulam Nabi Azad, can take any action against those forces.
All right. We're talking to Omer Abdullah. You're watching TalkBack. Stay tuned.